Welcome to the HireLearning podcast, the show where ambition meets strategy. This is your go-to space for career truth, financial empowerment, leadership growth, and real conversations that are unfiltered and uncut. If you're ready to elevate your career, confidence, and future, then you're in the right place. Join our co-hosts, HR professionals Yolanda, Aaron, and Caroline, right here, right now, for an episode of HireLearning. Hey, welcome back to HireLearning.
Everybody.
How you doing today?
Hello.
Well, we're doing something a little different today because someone from the audience actually sent me a message and want to know about probationary periods. How long should they be? Should you be on one? Are they negotiable? What can we tell you about probationary periods?
Welcome to HireLearning. Probationary periods typically begin when you start a new job. You've gone through the application process, you've interviewed, whether it's in person, you've received the welcome letter from your HR representative, you have your start date, you've completed all your onboarding paperwork, and that is when your probationary period begins. Typically, your probationary period is 90 days, 3 months. It's for every new employee. There are several key facts and several key tips that we want to share with you today about how to navigate and how to begin and start off on the right foot during your probationary period.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Caroline.
Yes.
What do you think about it, Aaron?
I think it's important to note that the duration of probationary periods can vary. So I know in federal government, depending on the position, it could be 1 year. If you depend on the agency, like DOD, it's 2 years. In private sector, there's no probationary period. You on probation all the time because in the private, you're at will. So if you're not doing your job, they will let you go. And it's a little bit easier to let go of someone in the private sector than it is in the public sector.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
I know for myself, when I started a new job, I did receive my offer letter and it indicated that I would be on probationary period. But because I had worked for that agency before, I refused to go on a probationary period and I asked if it could be negotiable, and it was. Mm-hmm. And so I did not have to go on probationary period.
Yeah, because if you were not changing your series, but you were changing agencies, then you shouldn't have to redo your probation. Shouldn't have to be another one.
I totally agree. And lucky for me, I did not have to go on probation. And actually, I don't think I've ever been on probation in any of my employment.
Oh.
But if you are, we're going to give you some tips of what you should do and what you should not do while you're on probation.
Absolutely. So the probationary period is an opportunity. My perspective or viewpoint on it is it's an opportunity for you to start off, whether it's your first job, whether it's your 20th job. The probationary period is very important as you navigate and start out that first week. Mm-hmm. When you begin that probationary period, if you are subject to that requirement, you want to start out on the right foot, right? Mm-hmm. And there are a couple of tips that you want to start from day one on navigating and beginning that probationary period. Beginning the new position, becoming familiar with the leadership. If we're talking about a very large organization, whether we're talking about the federal or private sector, having or requesting a copy of the organization structure or organization chart, if it's available. That you should do within your first week during your probationary period. So you can have visibility into who some of the key stakeholders, who are some of the very important departments that you may be interfacing with. Mm-hmm. So you can begin your due diligence of establishing the lay of the land within that organization.
Yes, absolutely. I also recommend for people to ask for their job description so you can actually see it. Sometimes it's written a little different than the job announcement that you may apply to. And after that, I will ask to see my competencies. Mm-hmm. What things will you actually be graded on while you're actually working? It may be on communication. It may be on team building. Thank you. Teamwork and team effort. And it may be on knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, those are all good points. So let me ask you a question. What are some of the biggest mistakes that people make when they're on probation?
Oh my goodness. coming into the job acting like a know-it-all.
Oh, good.
You do not want to act like you know it all. Even if you do know, be prepared to take in information.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the biggest thing that I think people make a mistake on. You do not have to come in thinking you're the expert in a new position.
Mm-hmm. Right. I would say during the probationary period, not communicating regularly with your supervisors, your first line supervisor, your second line supervisor, as a new employee, as a new hire, if people are very, very busy, recognizing that still it is your responsibility and it looks good as the new employee to seek out a quick 3 to 5 minutes, a walk and talk, as we often call it, with your immediate supervisor, getting on their calendar, requesting to get on their calendar within that first week is something, a best practice that a lot of people don't take advantage of doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I also think whether you're on a probationary period for 20 days, 30 days, 60 or 90 days, or even a year, you want to make sure you are punctual. You do not want to have poor attendance during a probationary period.
That's great. Yeah. Not only punctual, like meaning being on time, but actually showing up to work every day for the first 90 days. That's a good point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And not just showing up, but if you can, not taking leave.
Mm-hmm.
If you could just sustain from taking leave for those first 90 days, and sometimes it's written in your contract or on your onboarding, you'll know if you even have leave. Most people have to accrue it. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to go in having to take leave immediately. And if you have leave to take or a vacation that you're planning and just coincides with you starting a new job, let them know up front. Tell them what days you're expected to be off or need to be on vacation or even having to take care of personal time. It's better to let them know up front so then it's expected than you're just cold calling out.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You want to advocate for yourself during your probationary period. Mm-hmm. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Mm-hmm. Don't be afraid to, if you're uncertain about something, especially even if it's shortly after orientation, don't be afraid to speak up and ask questions. That's what your team is there for. Specifically, that's what your supervisor, your immediate supervisor, the expectation that you're supposed to know everything from day one is a myth. And even if you are a seasoned subject matter expert, a seasoned executive in a new structure, things are different. So don't be fearful of asking pointed questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would say, like, just as it is important to get your job description and also your competencies or your performance plan, how you're going to be evaluated, establish a training plan if you can within like the first 30 days with your new supervisor so that you know what you're supposed to be doing. That's in your job description. You know how you're going to be measured. That's in your performance plan or your competencies. But now how are you going to get there? If there are gaps, then you need to say, hey, boss, can we sit down? I need to figure out this piece. What training do you recommend, whether it's on the job or formal classroom training? You need to get that documented and on the books and on the calendar. Because if you're going to be measured against that, you need to know how to do it.
Right. Communicating early, communication throughout the entire probationary period, regardless of whether it's 30 days or even a year. That track of communicating and getting in the habit of communicating early is often beneficial to you in terms of your career and trajectory.
Absolutely. Also, you don't want to ignore company culture. You do not want to isolate yourself. You want to get to know your team members and colleagues and build professional relationships with them. You definitely want to be a person that's easy to talk to and understanding that you could go to someone else to ask those questions and be comfortable. And also be comfortable to share your knowledge with your colleagues as well.
But what should someone do if they're uncertain or uncomfortable in a job and they don't feel like they can? How should they handle that situation?
So there's an opportunity there. I mean, not everyone is an extrovert. Not everyone is comfortable with going into new situations full speed ahead. Mm-hmm. And that's okay, right? But recognize that during the probationary period, there may be some instances of turning that discomfort into a stretch assignment. If you have a unique skill set, if you are in the technology sector, for instance, and there are some new technologies that you are interested in learning or receiving training about, and someone on your team is farther along in terms of a particular project working with that technology, you may want to have a coffee or a quick tag up with that team member, and you can start take that discomfort or that fear and transition the conversation into that technology. So there are ways in which you can re-navigate or retransition some of that discomfort. That's just one approach.
Absolutely. I think it's a great idea to pull colleagues outside of the office. So go for a cup of tea or go for a cup of coffee.
Nice.
Therefore, the conversation could be a little bit more relaxed outside the office. And you could ask that question that you may be a little uneasy with when you're at your desk. It softens the blow a little bit.
That's a good point. Maybe not have the conversation with your supervisor first, but have it with the colleague first and see, hey, how did you do this, or how did you navigate? What
Yes.
do you recommend I do? You know, that type of thing. Oh, I
Right.
like that. That's good advice.
And I always say, get a mentor, whether it's someone at your company or someone outside of your company, maybe someone who's in the same field that you're in, that they could give you some advice.
Yes, mentors are great. And we did a whole episode on that, y'all. So check it out.
Absolutely.
Or you could call us.
Absolutely. Reach
Yes.
out to HireLearning. We always encourage you to like, follow, and subscribe. So we're here as a resource to definitely speak with you and provide guidance during the whole probationary season. I would also recommend, if you are more introverted or just uncomfortable those first couple of days or whatever, explore also joining perhaps some professional associations, some networking. There are hundreds of different types of associations, regardless of your career field.
Mhm.
And there are always conferences going on, a lot of free networking events, perhaps in your local area. So you may want to explore when that next networking or conference event. There are a lot of free opportunities. So the path of continuous learning, continuous growth, and training opportunities aren't just regulated to that particular job. You can always venture out in terms of your personal space and join some professional organizations.
Okay, so at what point, if you're on probation and you decide, okay, this ain't a good fit, at what point do you determine, or whether or not even if you're not on probation, like, okay, let me reevaluate and reassess?
Wow. That's a loaded question, Erin. As you all know, I'm ready to step away from a job when I feel like it's not fit for me or that I'm not comfortable in that job. But I think the key is to really understand that it's not a good fit.
Mhm.
One, if it's a mental thing and it's not a good fit, I say leave right away, because your health and your mental is number one.
Mhm.
That you do not want to be stressed in your employment. But if it's something dealing with training and you just a little unease or you're not able to do it, I say get the training and try it.
Mhm.
Most companies will have a structure in place for onboarding. And hopefully they'll have like standard operation procedures, something for you to actually follow so you can understand the process of getting your job done. So I would say give it some time first to see and make sure that it's not nerves, and that you really are fit for the job and equipped with the proper skills to get the job done.
And as the risk adverse and risk management strategist among the group here, I believe in applying a risk analysis before jumping ship.
Okay.
That's always been my approach. A lot of times people react to certain job discomfort and certain job situations emotionally, and that's not always the best way to approach the next step.
Mm-hmm.
So I am an advocate, and one of my best practices and tips that I have practiced myself, as well as what I've encouraged mentees, is to just do a risk analysis.
Mm-hmm.
What are the pros and cons? Making a simple list and really evaluating and seeing what that next step and what those consequences might be, short term within a 30-day period, as well as long term, 60 to 90 days, of this decision to leave this particular job at this time.
Absolutely. And I also think a person's approach could be is to document your achievements.
Yeah.
As you're learning something, make sure you're taking note as to the achievements that you have accomplished.
Develop your brag book.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also don't be defensive regarding feedback that your colleagues or your supervisor may give you. They may just have a different approach to job assignments than you do. And so you just don't want to seem like you're defensive. And also do not assume what your responsibilities are. If you're unsure, then ask.
Got it. Yep, I love that. I have a quick short story about someone who was fired on their probationary period. And it was kind of crazy because this person showed up to work on day one and immediately started like figuring out ways to not do any work. And it's hard for me to explain, but saying that there were, I have disabilities and I need this and I need that accommodation. But even with accommodation, was still just figure out, I need to have time to go talk to the union. No work, mind you. Came to work, but did everything but work. But the job that they were supposed to be doing. And so, needless to say, that individual was quickly let go. I think within about 90 days of the start date, they were gone.
That's unfortunate.
Wow.
That is very unfortunate.
So come to work, do your job. At least try. Even if you don't know what to do. Learn the ropes. Like you said, these are all good things. Get your training.
Absolutely.
And try.
Absolutely.
Yes,
And just as we recap, communicate. Communication is very, very important, not just when you are on or in a probationary period, but communication, enhancing your communication skills, building upon your communication skills. There are different methodologies of communication. Not every supervisor, not every organizational structure communicates the same way. So adapting and being able to pivot are some additional types of strategies to embrace during your probationary period.
I think that is wonderful. So to the person who asked about probationary periods, I hope that you have a clear understanding now about probationary periods. Remember, they're negotiable. There's an opportunity for feedback, an opportunity for growth, and opportunity for maintaining a wonderful career on your job after you finish the probationary period.
So you guys, thanks for joining us for another episode of HireLearning. And y'all know what to do. Hit that like button, follow us, share us with all your family and friends, and we will see you back here next time.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye everybody.